Let's begin with the syllabus. In the last class, that is in the first class, we have seen the syllabus. What are the different topics that we will learn in this subject? Today we will begin with the unit 1 and the first topic. Welcome to Embedded Systems. Now, first of all, we will see what is embedded system. Embedded system, is it purely electronic system, or it also has some other mechanical components? In some applications, it is purely electronic system. In some other applications, it also has some mechanical parts like actuator, valve, like that, right? So in general, embedded system is electronic system, or it may be electromechanical system. It may be electromechanical system. Electromechanical system, right? And embedded system, does it perform a single task or many tasks like a computer? Embedded system, it does only a specific task. Meaning, if you design embedded system for washing machine, it carries out only washing machine operations. You cannot use that embedded system for refrigerator purpose. Okay, so embedded system is purely, it does only a specific task. Okay, it cannot do many things at a time. If you want to change the functionality, you have to completely remove the program which is stored in the microcontroller, and you have to reprogram according to the new application. Okay, generally we won't do. Once embedded system is made for one application, we generally don't change it. And is the embedded system only having hardware, or it also has software? It has both. Okay, so embedded system is having both hardware and also software. So the final definition would be, embedded system is electronic or electromechanical system which performs a specific task and is combination of both hardware and software. So that is the definition of embedded system. Next, let's look at the block diagram of embedded system. What are the different things that we would have in embedded system? Let's say in this block diagram, we will see inputs and outputs and wireless communication or communication hardware or protocols. Okay, and at the center we have microcontroller. So these different things constitute embedded system. And at the center, if you look at the block at the center, we have a microcontroller. And other thing is microprocessor. Although there is a close resemblance between microcontroller and microprocessor, there are differences. Microcontroller is a single chip in which we have all these things. Microcontroller is a single chip in which we have all these things, right? In the microcontroller is equal to, otherwise microcontroller is equal to microprocessor plus, Within the same chip, we have RAM, random access memory, to store the intermediate results, RAM to store the program, and EEPROM. These are all different memories. Okay. Whereas in microprocessor, we don't have all these things like RAM, ROM, EEPROM, and so on, so on. We have to add externally to the microprocessor to make it a computer. Okay. Microprocessor alone is not a computer. Microprocessor plus RAM, ROM, EEPROM, you have to add externally as separate ICs. Whereas in microcontroller, you will have all these things in the same IC. In the microcontroller, we have a small processor plus RAM, ROM, EEPROM, and any other required components. You will have all these things within the same IC. That is microcontroller. Okay, that is microcontroller. Now let's see inputs. Now what are the different input components that are present in the embedded system? Keypad. Okay, keypad, it may be, okay, next one is sensor. Sensors, different types of sensors. These sensors, they measure the physical data and they give it to the microcontroller. Switches, these are some generally used inputs, and through these inputs, microcontroller gets the data and it processes it according to the program, stored in according to the program which is being executed, and it throws out outputs through these devices: displays, solenoids, motors. And here we have another category of hardware called serial communication or wireless communication. Serial communication or communication is if this microcontroller or if this embedded system wants to talk to another embedded system or a computer, there it does it through communication. Means we have USB, I2C, SPI, Bluetooth, USB, I2C, SPI, these are wired communications, whereas Bluetooth, wireless, these are Wi-Fi. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, these are wireless communications. We have Zigbee also. So this is the block diagram. In this block diagram, we have shown all the required components to build the embedded system. Now what we will do is we will take a detailed explanation of all these input components and also output components. See, in this slide we will see, we are seeing sensors, different types of sensors. And what are the different sensors we have used in our projects? We may have used temperature sensor, proximity sensor, accelerometer, IR sensor, pressure sensor, light sensor, ultrasonic sensor, smoke, gas, alcoholic sensors. These are the different sensors we have used or generally used in the embedded systems. Not only this, there are many other sensors. In this picture, we can see many sensors with diagrams, with pictures. See, here we have LM35, which is a popular temperature sensor. This one, it looks like a transistor, but it is not transistor. It is a sensor. In that IC, it is IC. In that IC, we have a temperature sensor along with a circuit. Okay, it is a color sensor. Color sensors, it senses red, green, blue, the primary colors, and it gives out output with the 3 wires and so on. And it is a alcoholic sensor. Okay, and if you bring this alcoholic sensor near to the alcohol, it senses and it gives us analog signal or digital also. It is gas sensor. Alcoholic sensor, gas sensors, smoke sensor, all these 3 work similarly. Next, we have light dependent resistor. It is nothing but a photoresistor, okay, whose resistance depends on the light. There are 2 varieties, positive quotient or negative quotient. If it is a positive quotient, then resistance increases with light. If it is a negative quotient, resistance decreases with the increase of light. Okay. It is a thermistor, temperature sensor. It is again temperature sensor like this. It is a proximity sensor. Proximity sensor detects nearby objects without actually going towards the object or without actually moving towards the object. That is the proximity sensor. It is ultrasonic sensor. Ultrasonic sensor, what it does is we can measure, we can detect the object. Not only we can detect the object, we can measure the distance from you to that object. Okay, it is like a small radar, right? You can detect and also you can measure the distance between you and the object. Okay, that is ultrasonic sensor. It is IR sensor. Okay, by using infrared rays, we can detect objects and also we can measure distance approximately. It is a water flow sensor, and it is inlet, it is outlet, and by connecting this sensor inside the pipe, okay, water pipe, we can detect the water flow movement. And it is a PIR sensor. It is like proximity sensor, but it uses infrared rays, and it is a rain sensor. If you place it in the field, and when there is a rain or water or moisture, this circuit gets shorts, and you can know the rain or not. Okay, and there is a heartbeat sensor. Heartbeat sensor, it is the sensor, and it is like a clip. You open the clip and put your finger there, and it measures the heartbeat. It throws light, infrared light. One end of the clip is having infrared transmitter, the other end has infrared receiver, and if there is a blood movement, it detects the blood movement. If there is a blood movement, it becomes the obstacle to the infrared rays. If there is no blood movement, and that light passes and reaches the other side of the receiver, like that it measures, it detects the heartbeat, or it measures the heartbeat, right? And it is IR sensor. There are different types of IR sensors. There is one end here, one end here. If anything comes in between, that in between object can be detected. It is IR sensor. It is transmitter type and receiver type. There are many infrared sensors. It is a touch sensor. Touch sensor is nothing but if you touch it, then circuit gets closed. Okay, if you there is nothing touching this space, then circuit opens, like that it operates. Humidity sensor, okay, it is humidity sensor. It measures humidity and temperature also. It is a phototransistor. It is like a resistor, a photoresistor, but amplification action. It is like a transistor, but there is small glass window which is exposed to the ambient. Okay, when that light passes that through that glass window, you can have a signal and also you can amplify it. Okay, it is a gyroscope. Gyroscope is a sensor which lets you know the direction also. Okay, when you are changing the direction, this gyroscope make you know that the direction is changing. It is a soil moisture. You can put this inside the soil, and we can know the moisture level in that soil. These are the different types of sensors we have. Depending on the application, we use some of these sensors, right? Accelerometer also, we have one accelerometer sensor. By using this accelerometer sensor, we can detect the motion in X direction, Y direction, and also in Z direction. Okay, there are two XY accelerometer or XYZ accelerometers. Depending on what you are using, you can detect the direction in 1 dimension or 2 dimension or 3 dimensions. Okay. These are the displays. Displays are output devices. This one is a touch display. Touch display means it is not only output device, it is input device as well. Touch display means we are seeing it, what is happening, means it is output device. By touching somewhere on the anywhere here, we are giving inputs to the microcontroller or embedded system. It is both input device as well as output device, right? And here we have a character display called LCD display. LCD display, it is a two-line displays. We have seen this type of displays in our function generators or oscilloscopes. Okay, in our oscilloscopes, we have this type of displays. This displays comes in like 2-line and also in 4-line. Okay, this is the output component which is generally used in embedded systems. And these are the other output devices: relays, actuators and motors. Okay, these are relays and these are actuators and these are motors. Relays are generally used to turn on or turn off something. For example, if you want to turn on or turn off a small LED, that can be done directly. You don't need relay. You don't need relay because that LED consumes very little current. Let's say 10 milliampere or 5 milliampere or 2 milliampere current. In those cases, you can directly connect LED to the microcontroller because microcontroller can deliver currents like 10 milliamperes up to 10 milliamperes with single pin. If that current exceeds, if the device, output device consumes more than this 10 milliampere, then we need some driver circuits. Okay, drivers. So for example, the motor, okay, big motor which consumes 1 ampere current or 2 amperes current, if you want to control in the sense, if you want to turn on or turn off such big motor, then we cannot directly connect that motor to the microcontroller, output pins of the microcontroller. We need some mechanism here. What we do is we connect relays. Through relays we control the motor, not directly through the microcontroller, but these relays are being controlled by the motor, by the microcontroller. Okay, what we do is these relays are controlled by the microcontroller output pins. Okay, and the relays themselves control the motor. Okay, is it right? That's how we use this relays. Relays are generally used in most of the electronic systems like refrigerators, because in the refrigerator we use motor to turn on or turn off that motor, we use the relays, and many other places. And these are the actuators. It looks, inside this we have a motor, but there is a shaft. A shaft is extended out of the motor, and by using these actuators, okay, we can control the valve. If you want to close the valve or if you want to open the valve, okay, we can use these actuators. Again, we need some driver circuits for this. We may use big transistors to drive these actuators. Okay, if you want to open the valve or close the valve, if you want to open the door or close the door, we use these actuators. Okay, and these motors, there are two types of motors or many motors. It is a DC motor and it is a stepper motor. DC motor generates spinning action. Okay, it converts the electrical energy into mechanical energy, that too spinning type of mechanical energy. Okay, and if you want, you can by using embedded system, You can turn on the motor or turn off the motor, and also you can change the speed of the motor. You can control the speed like slow or fast and so on so on. Okay, you can control the speed of the motor. If you are using mic, if you want to control the speed also, then we generally don't use this relays. Relays are used only when if you want to turn on or turn off. If you want to control the speed also, okay, then we use drivers. There are popular drivers. Okay, by using those drivers we can drivers means generally they contain transistors, array of transistors. By using those transistors we can control the speed through uh, this mechanism called pulse width modulation. Okay, and here we have another type of motor called stepper motor. Stepper motor, by using stepper motor we can have control over the precise precise angle. If you want to have control over the precise angle, then in that case we use this stepper motors. For example, if you want to align the antenna in certain specific direction, okay, then we can use this stepper motors to achieve that precise angle. Okay, next, these are so far we have talked about embedded systems and input components, output components, and so on, right? Next, the next topic is host and target concepts. Host and target concepts. Host means your computer, desktop computer or your laptop computer. Target means here target is embedded microcontroller. The microcontroller that is being used in the embedded system, that becomes the target device, whereas the computer that becomes the host computer. Now the question is why do we need computer in the development of embedded system? We don't need computer all the time. It is needed only in one stage. Okay, once that stage is completed, then we don't need computer anymore. We can operate this microcontroller as a standalone unit. Now let's see the need for host computer. Okay, in our lab in the last semester we have a DSP processor, right? We have a DSP processor, or if you take the example of a Arduino microcontroller, because we have used Arduino microcontrollers in our project. Okay, let's take the example of Arduino microcontroller. First thing is how Arduino microcontroller delivers different functionalities based on the program that is stored in the Arduino microcontroller, right? Arduino microcontroller means we have to first store the program into the microcontroller. Only then it delivers different functionality depending on how the program is, right? Now the question is how to put the program into the microcontroller. Program means the program that is understood by the microcontroller is ones and zeros. That program should be stored in the RAM, permanent RAM. Okay, permanent memory. Now how it is to be done? Generally we don't have any keyboard. Okay, microcontroller doesn't come with keyboard, so that by using that keyboard we can type all that big program, whatever 10 KB program or 20 KB program with keyboard directly. Okay, even it comes with a keyboard, it is not that easy to type all that big program like thousands of zeros and ones. If you miss a single one or zero, then your program will not function correctly, right? That is the problem. Now what we do is, to facilitate it, we use computer. It may be a desktop computer or a laptop. In the desktop computer or laptop, we run programs like editors. Okay, editors. Editor is a software. Software means again it is a program which is run, executed in your desktop computer. Okay, there we run some softwares like editors. In that, when you open that editor, you'll have some space, white space. You can type the program. This program not in ones and zeros, not in machine level language, but in C level, higher level language, like your like in English sentences. Okay, while move like that. Okay, once you type the program in the editor by using other tools like compilers and interpreters, okay, we convert that high level language, high level language into machine level language. Once that machine level language program is generated, then we transfer that program into the microcontroller by using some communication protocols. Okay, for that purpose we need host computer. Okay, host computer is needed to type the high level language program and also to execute to convert that high level language program into machine level language program. Once that is been done, okay, we upload that code to the target microcontroller. For that thing we need host computer. Okay, right? Generally this much complexity cannot be without this host computer. It is very complex. It cannot be done just with microcontroller and keyboard, right? So for that purpose we use host computer. Right? Now once the program is properly uploaded into the microcontroller called target device, right? Then we don't need this host computer anymore. We can use this as a standalone unit. For example, now you are opening your computer. Okay, there you open Arduino software, Arduino IDE. There you type the program. After typing the program and executing that code, you upload that code. Okay, you upload that code into the Arduino microcontroller. Now your Arduino microcontroller is the target device. Your laptop or desktop becomes the host computer. Okay, that is what is host and target devices. Next we will see embedded applications. Embedded system applications. There are varieties of applications, and we categorize these applications into these different things like consumer electronics. In the consumer electronics, we use embedded systems in DVDs, set-top boxes, okay, high definition TVs, digital cameras. In DVDs, to run the disk, to control the disk, to control the speed of the disk, and so on, we use that embedded systems. Set-top boxes, high definition TVs, digital cameras. Okay, for digital cameras means we have zooming action, right? We zoom in or zoom out through optical zoom, right? To means inside we have some servo mechanism which does this zoom. To control that servo mechanism, we use embedded systems, right? Next one is computer networking and peripherals. We use embedded systems in printers, network cards, monitors and displays, image processing, and networking systems. Networking system is this routers. Okay, image processing means there is a camera and you take the picture of somebody and you want to compare that picture with the picture which is already stored. Okay, there we use this image processing. There we use embedded systems. Printers. In printers, not the whole printer is embedded system. Otherwise, not the whole networking gadget is the embedded system. For example, in the printer, if you don't put the paper for printing, if there is no paper, if there is absence of paper, then printer gives us alarm. Okay, there is no paper, like that. Now who is responsible for this detection? It is embedded system. Okay, embedded system detects the paper by throwing infrared rays, like that. Okay, it detects the paper. Okay, like that. In a printer, there may be one embedded system or many embedded systems, depending on the sophistication of the printers. Okay, monitors and displays and so on. Next, automobiles. In the automobiles, we use embedded systems in motor control. Motor control, cruise control. Cruise control is what? Cruise control means in advanced cars, we have how generally car moves forward. We have to you have to press the acceleration pedal. Okay, yes or no? If you release your leg from that pedal, the speed decreases and finally car comes to rest. And if you are tired of pushing the pedal, acceleration pedal for a long time, still you want to move. Okay, what you can do is, there is this thing called cruise control. If you set your car, if you put your car on cruise control mode, okay, even after removing the leg from that acceleration pedal, okay, still car moves at the same speed. Okay, generally we do it in if there is a road, long road, there are no turns, we can put your car in the cruise control. Okay, cruise control allows the driver to move the car at the same speed. Okay, if the road is having no turns. Maybe in earlier cars it is absent, this mechanism is absent. And body safety, engine safety, in automobiles we use this what we call airbags. If a car hits any hard surface, okay, there is a vibration generally. If that vibration exceeds some threshold value, then these airbags will open. Okay, and we also have anti-locking brake system. Anti-locking brake system, which is not mentioned here. Anti-lock braking system works something like this. Normally, if you apply brake, then wheels will disconnect from the steering. Wheels will disconnect from the steering. If you notice there is an obstacle before you and you want to stop the car, okay, then suddenly you apply the brake, okay, then wheels will disconnect from the steering, means you cannot change the direction of these wheels by using steering. Okay, that's what happens in anti-lock braking system. What they do